a quiet archive record. Tonight, we're stepping into a slow unfolding. Settle in, let the outside world dissolve, and gently descend into tonight's world. Some theories begin as honest questions. Others begin as jokes, fears, or marketing. In this episode, we move through 50 of the craziest theories people have shared across history and the internet, from ancient mysteries to modern rumors. We do not treat every idea as equally serious. Instead, we describe what the theory claims, where it came from, and why people repeat it. Along the way, we separate three things: what is documented, what is possible but unproven, and what is very unlikely. The goal is not to mock believers, but to understand how strange ideas spread, and how to think clearly when a story is exciting but the evidence is thin. Tonight, we go through 50 of the craziest theories in the world. Before we begin, one ground rule. A theory is not automatically true just because it is interesting. And a theory is not automatically false just because it sounds weird. What matters is the kind of evidence that supports it, and how the story behaves when you ask basic questions. Some theories are built on real mysteries. Some are built on patterns that look meaningful but are not. Some are built on mistrust of institutions. Some are built to sell books and videos. As we move through these 50 theories, we will keep the tone steady and documentary. For each one, we will do 3 simple things. 1. Describe the claim in plain language. 2. Describe what is known and what is not. 3. Explain why the theory persists. We will start with a group of ancient and historical theories. Theory 1 is the idea of Atlantis. The claim is that a highly advanced island civilization existed long ago and sank beneath the sea. The story comes from Plato, who described Atlantis as a powerful place that fell after moral decline. The evidence is mainly the text itself, plus later speculation. Some people connect Atlantis to places like Santorini, the Azores, or the Caribbean. Atlantis persists because it is a perfect story. It mixes loss, pride, disaster, and the hope that a great past is waiting to be rediscovered. Theory 2 is the idea that the pyramids were built by lost super technology. The claim is that ancient Egyptians could not have built the pyramids with known tools, so they must have had advanced machines or help from outsiders. The evidence does not support that. Archaeology shows quarries, tools, labor organization, and gradual development of pyramid design. This theory persists because the pyramids look impossible if you imagine only one person lifting stones. But ancient projects used thousands of workers, careful planning, and time. Theory 3 is that the moon landing was faked. The claim is that the United States staged the Apollo landings to win the Cold War. The evidence against this theory is strong. There are multiple missions, thousands of involved workers, independent tracking by other countries, and physical objects left on the moon. The theory persists because it fits a modern suspicion. Governments lie. Some governments do lie. But that does not mean every major event is a lie. Theory 4 is that the Earth is hollow. The claim is that the planet contains vast inner spaces, sometimes with hidden civilizations. Geology and seismology show the Earth has layers: crust, mantle, outer core, inner core. It is not hollow. This theory persists because it turns the unknown into a map. It promises a secret world under your feet. Theory 5 is that there is a lost continent called Lemuria. The claim is that a landmass once existed in the Indian Ocean or Pacific and later disappeared. The idea began as a way to explain animal distribution, before plate tectonics was understood. Later, it became tied to occult stories. It persists because it offers an alternative prehistory and a place to anchor myths. Theory 6 is that giants once ruled the earth. The claim is that ancient giants existed and that their bones are hidden by institutions. There are ancient stories about giants in many cultures, but there is no credible evidence of a separate giant human species of the scale often claimed. This theory persists because it makes the past feel more dramatic, and because people are fascinated by bones and ruins. Theory 7 is that ancient astronauts visited Earth. The claim is that aliens influenced early human civilizations, teaching them engineering and religion. The evidence is mostly interpretation of art, monuments, and myths. Mainstream archaeology does not require aliens to explain ancient achievements. This theory persists because it turns human history into cosmic drama, and because it gives a single answer to many questions. Theory 8 is the Bermuda Triangle. The claim is that ships and planes vanish in a specific ocean region due to strange forces. Many disappearances are explained by weather, navigation errors, and human factors. The region is heavily traveled, so incidents are more noticed. It persists because the ocean is frightening and because unexplained loss invites mystery. Theory 9 is that Shakespeare did not write Shakespeare. The claim is that someone else, like Francis Bacon or the Earl of Oxford, wrote the plays. Most scholars see strong evidence that Shakespeare of Stratford wrote them. Alternative authorship theories persist because people find it hard to accept that a man of modest background could produce great art. Theory 10 is that the Knights Templar hid a great secret. The claim is that the Templars discovered treasure or knowledge and passed it to later secret groups. The Templars were a real medieval order with wealth and political enemies. They were suppressed. Beyond that, the secret treasure claims are mostly speculation. It persists because secret orders and hidden treasure are irresistible. Now we move into a group of theories about hidden creatures and unknown species. Theory 11 is Bigfoot. The claim is that a large ape-like creature lives in North American forests. There are many reports, some casts of footprints, and a few famous films, but there is no confirmed body, clear DNA evidence, or consistent data. It persists because forests are vast, people want wonder close to home, and stories are fun to trade. Theory 12 is the Loch Ness Monster. The claim is that a large creature lives in Loch Ness. There have been sightings and blurry photos. Investigations suggest misidentification, waves, and hoaxes. It persists because the lake is deep and dark, and because the story is part of local identity. Theory 13 is the Mothman. The claim is that a winged humanoid appeared in West Virginia in the 1960s and was linked to tragedy. Reports exist, but they are hard to verify. Some explanations involve owls, fear, and rumor. It persists because it ties a strange creature to a real disaster, and humans remember patterns. Theory 14 is that mermaids are real. The claim is that human-like sea beings exist. There are no credible biological specimens. Many old accounts likely came from manatees, seals, and imagination. It persists because the ocean is mysterious, and because mermaids are a powerful symbol. Theory 15 is that there are living dinosaurs, like the Congo creature called Mokalembembe. The claim is that a large dinosaur-like animal lives in remote rivers. Reports exist, but there is no confirmed evidence. Ecology makes the survival of a large breeding population difficult to hide. It persists because remote regions feel like the last blank spaces on maps. Now we move into theories about the mind and reality itself. Theory 16 is that we live in a simulation. The claim is that reality is a computer simulation run by an advanced civilization. This idea is philosophical. It is hard to test. It persists because technology makes it easier to imagine a programmed world. Theory 17 is the Mandela effect. The claim is that people remember events differently because of parallel timelines. A more grounded explanation is that memory is unreliable. Social reinforcement spreads false recollections, and the brain fills gaps. It persists because shared misremembering feels eerie. Theory 18 is that dreams can predict the future. The claim is that some dreams are prophetic. Humans dream constantly. Some dreams match later events by chance. We also forget the many dreams that do not match anything. It persists because coincidence can feel meaningful. Theory 19 is that the government can read minds. The claim is that technology can extract thoughts directly. There is real research in brain signals and medical devices. But mind reading in the science fiction sense is not supported in the way the theory claims. It persists because surveillance is real, and the idea pushes it to an extreme. Theory 20 is that time travelers walk among us. The claim is that people from the future visit the present. Physics allows time dilation in specific contexts, but the common internet time traveler stories lack evidence. It persists because time travel is a perfect story engine. Now we move into theories about hidden groups and secret control. Theory 21 is that there is a single secret cabal that controls world events. The claim varies. Illuminati, a hidden council, or a shadow government. Powerful networks exist, but a single all-controlling group is hard to support with evidence. It persists because the world is complex, and a single villain is easier to imagine. Theory 22 is that a secret base called Area 51 hides alien craft. The base is real and secretive. It is linked to military testing. Alien craft claims are unproven, but secrecy fuels imagination. Theory 23 is that the world is run by lizard people. The claim is that reptilian beings disguise themselves as humans and hold power. There is no credible evidence. This theory often functions as a metaphor or as a modern myth. It persists because it turns distrust of elites into a literal monster. Theory 24 is that chemtrails are used to control populations. The claim is that airplane trails contain chemicals for mind control or weather control. The evidence supports the normal explanation. Condensation trails, large secret spraying programs would leave strong logistical evidence. It persists because people see trails and ask why, and because institutions often fail to communicate clearly. Theory 25 is that vaccines are a hidden control tool. The claim is that vaccines are used to harm or track people. Vaccines are real medical tools with real benefits and risks. Broad claims of hidden mass harm require strong evidence. It persists because people fear health systems and because trust can be broken by real scandals. Now we move into theories about space. Theory 26 is that aliens already live on the moon. The claim is that bases exist on the far side. There is no credible evidence. Modern satellites map the surface in detail. It persists because the far side feels like a secret. Theory 27 is that Mars has ruins. The claim is that images show structures. most examples are pareidolia, the brain seeing faces in random shapes. It persists because we want Mars to be a second Earth with a deeper story. Theory 28 is that a mysterious planet, sometimes called Nibiru, will return and cause disaster. The claim is that an unseen planet approaches on a hidden orbit. Astronomy would detect such an object. The predictions have repeatedly failed. It persists because apocalypse stories are addictive. Theory 29 is that the sun is artificial. The claim is that the sun is a constructed object. Physics and observation support the sun as a natural star. It persists because it is so extreme that it shocks the mind. Theory 30 is that Earth is flat. The claim is that the Earth is not a globe. Evidence from physics, navigation, satellites, and simple observation supports a spherical Earth. It persists because it offers a clear identity and a feeling of being in on a secret. We will continue through the remaining theories next, moving into internet-era rumors, hidden history claims, and modern apocalypse scenarios. And then we will end with a simple toolkit for judging any theory without losing the sense of wonder. Now we continue. Theory 31 is that birds are not real. The claim is a modern internet joke turned into a pseudo-belief. It says birds were replaced by surveillance drones. It began as satire, but some people repeat it like a real claim. It persists because it is funny, because it mocks surveillance fears, and because online culture can blur the line between a joke and a belief. Theory 32 is that Finland is not real. The claimer says the country is an invented cover story, sometimes linked to fishing rights. It is obviously false, but it spreads because it is absurd, and because absurdity can be entertaining. Theory 33 is that Paul McCartney died and was replaced. The claim says the Beatles hid a death and used a look-alike. People point to lyrics, album art, and supposed clues. There is no credible evidence. The theory survives because fans love hidden messages, and because the Beatles are a perfect target for mystery. Theory 34 is that Elvis lived and faked his death. The claim is that Elvis escaped fame. There is no strong evidence beyond alleged sightings. It persists because the idea of a famous person walking away is comforting, and because people want legends to stay alive. Theory 35 is that the Titanic did not sink by accident. The claim varies. Some say it was a planned insurance scam. Some say it was swapped with a sister ship. The evidence strongly supports a collision with an iceberg, combined with known design issues and bad decisions. It persists because disasters invite alternative stories, especially when the disaster feels too large to be random. Theory 36 is that the Denver airport hides a secret underground base. The claim points to art, design choices, and construction rumors. There are tunnels and facilities, as in any major airport. The deeper claims are not supported. It persists because the airport looks strange, and because people enjoy turning public spaces into mystery maps. Theory 37 is that the CIA invented crack cocaine and spread it deliberately. This is different from many theories because it touches real history. There is evidence that US foreign policy and covert operations in the Cold War created relationships with criminal actors. There were failures and cover-ups. But the strongest version of the claim, that a single agency designed a clean master plan to flood communities, is hard to prove in that exact form. It persists because people saw real harm and because the government has a record of secrecy. Theory 38 is that a secret weapon controls the weather. The claim points to programs like HARP. HARP is a real research facility studying the ionosphere. There is no credible evidence it can create hurricanes on demand. It persists because weather feels uncontrollable and because extreme events create anxiety. Theory 39 is that the world will be ruled by a single digital currency and total tracking. This is partly a future fear. Digital tracking and cashless systems are real trends. But the idea of one unified global control switch ignores political conflict and technical limits. It persists because people see surveillance expanding and worry about losing freedom. Theory 40 is that the internet is mostly bots. The claim is that online life is dominated by automated accounts. There is truth here. Bots are common. Some platforms have large amounts of automated activity, but the strongest version, that almost everyone is a bot and you are alone, is not supported. It persists because online interaction can feel fake and repetitive. Now we move into theories about health, the body, and strange technology. Theory 41 is that fluoride is a mass mind control chemical. The claim says fluoride in water is used to dull the mind. Fluoride is used to reduce tooth decay. Like any chemical, it can be harmful at high doses. The mass mind control claim is not supported. It persists because people distrust public health programs and because forced exposure raises ethical concerns. Theory 42 is that the cure for cancer is already known but hidden. The claim says a simple cure exists but is suppressed for profit. Cancer is not one disease. It is many diseases. Research has produced real treatments, but there is no single universal cure. Suppression claims would require vast coordination across countries and rival companies. It persists because cancer is frightening and because people want a simple solution. Theory 43 is that microchips are hidden in everyday products to track you. Tracking tech does exist. Phones do it, apps do it, cameras do it. But secret implanted chips in common products are usually not necessary because the open tracking systems already work. It persists because people are right to sense that privacy is shrinking. Theory 44 is that there are secret energy devices that can power everything for free. The claim says inventors made free energy machines and were silenced. Physics does not support perpetual motion. Energy can be harvested, but not from nothing. It persists because it offers hope and because it frames power as stolen from ordinary people. Theory 45 is that the black helicopters are always watching. This was a common fear in late 1900s conspiracy culture. Government aircraft exist and surveillance exists, but the idea of constant dramatic helicopter monitoring is exaggerated. It persists because it is a vivid symbol of state power. Now we move into theories about apocalypse and the end of the world. Theory 46 is that an ancient prophecy precisely predicts modern events. This often involves Nostradamus, the Mayan calendar, or other texts. Most such prophecies are vague and can be fitted to many events. It persists because humans want a map of the future. Theory 47 is that a secret doomsday bunker network will save elites. The claim says the powerful have hidden shelters for collapse. Some bunkers exist. Governments plan continuity. Wealthy people buy shelters. A large hidden network is possible in pieces, but the most dramatic claims are not proven. It persists because it matches a fear. The powerful will abandon everyone else. Theory 48 is that an alien disclosure event is scheduled. The claim says governments plan a staged reveal. Governments do release documents at times, and there are real unknowns in aerial sightings, but a fixed planned reveal date is usually rumor. It persists because people feel stuck in suspense and want closure. Theory 49 is that the world ended in 2012, and we are in a different timeline. The claim says the Mayan calendar marked the end, and everything since is unreal. There is no evidence. It functions more like a feeling that life changed. It persists because the early 2010s did mark big cultural shifts, and people anchor feelings to dates. Theory 50 is that reality can be changed by pure thought alone. This overlaps with manifesting culture. The claim is that belief directly rewrites the physical world. Mindset matters for choices and behavior, and that can change outcomes. But the strongest version, that thought alone changes physics, is not supported. It persists because people want agency. Now we step back. After hearing 50 strange theories, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. So we end with a simple way to judge any claim. First, ask if the claim is specific. If it is vague, it can survive any test. Second, ask what evidence would prove it wrong. If nothing could prove it wrong, it is not a testable belief. Third, ask who benefits from the claim spreading. Some claims sell products, books, memberships, and attention. Fourth, ask what the simplest explanation is. Sometimes the simplest explanation is boring, but it is still true. Fifth, ask if the claim fits what we know about people. Huge secret programs are hard to hide. People leak, people fight, people make mistakes. And finally, keep a place for wonder. Not all mysteries are hoaxes. The world has real unknowns. But the best way to honor the unknown is to stay honest about what we can prove. We will keep going in this same calm way, because a calm mind can hold both curiosity and skepticism at the same time. Now, we slow down and revisit the first part of the list with more detail. The goal is not to pad. The goal is to treat each claim like a small case file. Atlantis, again. Plato described Atlantis in two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. He framed it as a story told through a chain of sources, like a report passed from person to person. That framing alone is one reason Atlantis is so powerful. It feels like a record. But Plato was also a philosopher who used stories to make points about politics and morality. Many historians treat Atlantis as a fictional example, a warning about arrogance, not as a literal map. The strongest argument for Atlantis being real is that ancient people did experience catastrophic floods and volcanic eruptions. A real disaster can become a myth. The eruption at Thera, also called Santorini, was huge. It impacted the region and may have helped weaken the Minoan civilization. But even if a disaster inspired parts of the Atlantis story, that is different from the claim that a global advanced island empire existed with technology far beyond its time. Atlantis persists because it offers both loss and hope. It says, the world once held a golden age, and it might be recovered. Now the pyramids and the idea of lost super technology. A common move in this theory is to focus on a single detail, like stone size, and treat it as impossible. But if you step back, the pyramids were not built in one leap. Egypt has earlier mastabas and step pyramids. The design evolves. Mistakes are visible. Techniques improve. Archaeologists have found quarries, tool marks, worker villages, and logistics pathways. They also have records of labor organization. The work was hard, But it was not magic. The mystery is not, could humans do this? The real mystery is how a society organizes long projects, how it motivates labor, and how it maintains precision. That is still amazing. But it does not require secret machines. The moon landing hoax theory is similar. It takes a real human fact that governments can lie and pushes it into a blanket rule that the biggest achievements must be lies. If the Apollo landings were staged, it would require a massive coordination effort across contractors, engineers, astronauts, and tracking stations. It would require hundreds of thousands of people to keep quiet forever. It would also require faking the physics of communications and trajectories in a way that foreign rivals could not detect. A useful test is to ask what evidence exists outside the US government. There are retroreflectors on the moon used for laser ranging. There are photographs of landing sites taken by later missions. There is independent tracking data. The simplest explanation remains that the landings happened. So why does the hoax claim persist? Because it gives a person a sense that they are not fooled. It feels like a rebellion. Now, the Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth stories often include entrances at the poles, inner suns, and hidden civilizations. It is a modern fairy tale that uses scientific words. In reality, seismology provides strong evidence about the Earth's interior. Earthquakes send waves through the planet, and those waves bend and change based on material. From this, scientists infer layers. A hollow Earth would change wave behavior dramatically. We do not see that. But Hollow Earth persists for the same reason Atlantis does. It turns empty, unknown space into a place you can imagine walking into. It is a way to domesticate mystery, Lemuria and lost continents. Before plate tectonics, people tried to explain why similar animals appear in far-apart places. A land bridge seemed reasonable. The idea of Lemuria was one attempt. Once plate tectonics was accepted, the scientific need for Lemuria faded, but the name remained and was adopted by occult and spiritual movements. This is a pattern. A hypothesis can lose scientific support, but survive culturally. It survives because it fills a narrative need. Now, giants. Stories about giants appear in many traditions. They can symbolize enemies, natural forces, or moral lessons. Modern giant claims often use two tactics. First, they show normal human bones or animal bones and label them as giants. Second, they claim institutions hide the truth. This is hard to test because the hiding claim can explain away missing evidence. But biology and ecology set limits. A population of very large humans would leave many remains and clear patterns in the fossil record. So the likely explanation is that giant stories are myth, plus modern hoaxes and misinterpretation. Ancient astronauts. This theory is popular because it treats ancient art as a code. A figure with a headdress becomes a helmet. A boat becomes a spaceship. A myth becomes a report. Sometimes the interpretation is creative, but not grounded. It also tends to underestimate ancient humans. Humans can build complex monuments, organize labor, and create advanced art without alien help. A more respectful view is that ancient people were as intelligent as we are. They had different tools and different knowledge, but not lesser minds. Now, the Bermuda Triangle. This theory is strengthened by selective memory. People remember the dramatic disappearances. They forget the ordinary safe trips. The ocean is dangerous. Weather changes fast. Equipment fails. If a region is heavily traveled, it will have more incidents. and that can be mistaken for special danger. Still, the fear is real. The ocean does swallow evidence. That is why the myth holds. Now, a shift. Some theories are not about places. They are about identity and status. The Shakespeare authorship theory is one. It is driven partly by class assumptions. Some people cannot accept that a man from Stratford with limited formal education could produce genius. So they search for a noble or scholar who feels more fitting. But genius can appear in many backgrounds. Also, Shakespeare lived in the theatre world. He had access to texts, actors, and patrons. The simplest explanation is that he wrote the works attributed to him, the Knights Templar and Hidden Secrets. The historical Templars were a military and financial order with significant wealth and political influence. When they were arrested and suppressed, it created a vacuum. A vacuum invites story. If an order disappears suddenly, people imagine it did not really disappear. They imagine it escaped. This is the seed of many secret society myths. The truth is that some members survived, some wealth moved, and institutions changed. But the grand treasure stories are mostly imagination. Now, we return to creatures. Bigfoot and Loch Ness share a structure. They depend on the idea that a large animal can exist without leaving decisive evidence. For Bigfoot, the biggest problem is biology. A breeding population would leave bones, scat, clear tracks, and DNA traces that cannot be explained away. For Loch Ness, the biggest problem is ecology. A large unknown animal would need enough food and a population size that would be detectable. Still, people see things. They misidentify. They embellish. They tell stories. And a few hoaxes add fuel. The Mothman is different. It is tied to a specific time and place, and to a tragic event, the Silver Bridge collapse. When a disaster happens after a series of eerie sightings, people connect them. The mind wants a warning story, so the creature becomes a symbol of doom. Mermaids and living dinosaurs are also symbol theories. The ocean hides things, remote jungles hide things, and people want the world to still have monsters. The key difference is evidence. We can still be open to unknown species. The ocean is vast, but extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof. Now we will continue expanding the remaining items the same way, and we will build toward a conclusion that helps you keep curiosity without being dragged by every new rumor. We move now into the mind and reality theories, because these are often the most seductive. The simulation idea is not like Bigfoot. It is not a claim about a creature. It is a claim about the nature of existence. The reason it spreads is that our everyday life already includes simulations. We live inside screens. We build virtual worlds. We use models to predict weather, markets, and traffic. So a person asks, if we can build small simulations now, could an advanced civilization build a full one? Philosophers then ask, if they could, and if they would, then what are the odds we are in the original world? But this is not an evidence-based claim in the normal sense. It is a thought experiment. It can make you feel small or free or watched. It persists because it speaks to a modern feeling that reality is mediated, coded, and managed. The Mandela effect is more grounded. People really do share false memories. This is not rare. Human memory is not like a camera. It is like a story you rebuild each time you recall it. When a group shares a misremembered detail, it can feel like a glitch. Some people then jump to parallel universes, but a simpler explanation is that the brain compresses. simplifies, and fills gaps. If you want to test this, ask how many Mandela effect claims are about small details, like spelling, logos, and single lines. They are rarely about large events with strong documentation. That pattern matches memory error more than timeline shifts. Dream prophecy theories are similar. Everyone has thousands of dreams. Most are forgotten. If one dream later matches a real event, it feels profound. But we forget the huge number of dreams that do not match. We also reinterpret the dream after the event, fitting it like a key to a lock. This does not mean dreams are meaningless. They can reflect stress, desire, and worry. But the claim that they predict the future needs controlled evidence, not just personal stories. Mind-reading government tech. The best grounded version of this is that brain signals can be measured. That is true. Medical devices can detect patterns related to movement and speech. Researchers can sometimes guess what a person is seeing or intending in very limited tasks. But that is not the same as reading a private inner monologue from across a room. The jump from laboratory decoding to mass remote mind reading is huge. Still, the fear persists because surveillance has expanded, and people correctly feel that privacy is under pressure. Time travelers. Time travel is one of those ideas that people love because it solves regret. It lets you imagine changing mistakes. It also lets you imagine that the future already knows the present. Most time traveler evidence online is playful, vague, or fake. If a time traveler were real, they could prove it by providing specific, verifiable information that cannot be guessed. Instead, most claims rely on hints and photos. Now we return to the secret control cluster. This is where many modern theories connect. The shadow cabal claim feels strong because power really is concentrated. You can look at wealth distribution, at lobbying spending, at corporate ownership. You can see that influence is not evenly spread. So the theory takes that real structure and adds a single command center. The main weakness is scale. A single hidden group controlling all governments would need perfect secrecy, perfect discipline, and perfect long-range planning. History shows the opposite. Power centers clash, plans fail, people leak. A more accurate picture is many overlapping networks. Area 51. There is a real reason this theory exists: secrecy. The base was tied to advanced aircraft projects. Secrecy was high. People near the area saw strange lights. They heard rumors. Over time, the unknown became alien. Alien craft claims remain unproven, but the social mechanism is clear. When you hide something, the public imagination fills the gap. Lizard people. This theory is so extreme that it often works like a symbol. It says, the rulers are not like us. They are cold. They are inhuman. Some people take it literally. Others use it as a way to express disgust with elites. When a theory becomes that symbolic, it is hard to test because it is not really about biology. It is about emotion, chemtrails. A good way to test chemtrail claims is logistics. If planes were spraying chemicals at scale, there would be supply chains, personnel, specialized tanks, consistent documentation, and whistleblowers with hard proof. There would also be measurable chemical signatures. Instead, what we see is normal condensation physics. This theory persists because people see something in the sky and feel excluded from explanation. When institutions do not communicate well, mistrust grows. Vaccine control theories. This is a sensitive area because the body is personal. Also, medical institutions have made real mistakes in history, so skepticism can be healthy. But broad claims that vaccines are designed for mass harm need broad evidence. In reality, vaccines are tested, monitored, and debated. They have risks, but also large benefits. The extreme claims often spread faster than nuance. Now space. Alien bases on the moon and ruins on Mars are often based on image interpretation. The brain is a pattern machine. It is built to detect faces and structure. That means we can see buildings in rocks. This is called pareidolia. If you want to avoid being fooled by pareidolia, look for repeated structure, symmetry that cannot be natural, and multiple independent images. Most Mars ruin claims do not meet that bar. Nibiru. This is a pure apocalypse engine. Each time a prediction fails, the date moves. This is a sign that the belief is not guided by evidence. It is guided by desire for an ending. Flat Earth. This theory persists not because of evidence, but because of identity. It offers a person a community, a feeling of being awake, and a clear enemy. The enemy is institutions and experts. Once a belief is tied to identity, evidence matters less. Now, internet era, hoaxes like birds aren't real show another pattern. A joke can become a flag. People join because it is fun. Then a few start to believe. The line blurs. Replacement celebrity theories like Paul McCartney and Elvis are similar. They often begin with grief and denial. Fans do not want the story to end, so they build an alternative ending. Now, the Titanic swap theory. It exists because the Titanic is a symbol of modern hubris and tragedy. People want a secret underneath, because a simple iceberg feels too ordinary. But ordinary causes can create extraordinary disasters. Now, we end with the toolkit in stronger form. A calm method is the best defense. If a claim is exciting, that is when you should slow down. Ask, what is the best evidence? Ask, is there a simpler explanation? Ask, does the claim require thousands of people to stay silent? Ask, if the claim were true, what else would we expect to see? That last question is powerful. If Bigfoot were real, we would expect bodies. If chemtrails were real, we would expect chemical traces and logistics. If a hidden planet were near, we would expect telescope observations. If time travelers were here, we would expect specific predictions. And if the evidence does not match those expectations, the claim weakens. Now we continue the last stretch by expanding the final cluster of health, tech, and apocalypse ideas, and then we will close. Now we complete the remaining cluster with more detail, and we bring the episode to a steady end. The Denver airport theory is a good case study. A person walks into a huge modern space. They see strange murals. They hear stories about unusual construction costs. They learn about tunnels. Airports are full of tunnels. They have baggage systems, utilities, security zones, and emergency routes. Large projects also have cost overruns, and public art can be unsettling. So the basic ingredients are common, but when you combine them, the mind forms a narrative. This place is a mask. The theory then grows by selective attention. Every odd detail becomes a clue. In some cases, the airport itself played with the rumors as a marketing joke, which further fuels the idea. This is a modern loop. The institution reacts, and the reaction becomes evidence. Now the CIA and crack claim. This is more serious than most, because it touches real injustice. The strongest historical point is that during Cold War conflicts, agencies and governments sometimes worked with unsavory partners. There were covert operations. There were funds that came from illegal activities. There were cover stories. journalists investigated claims that drug money and foreign policy intersected. The exact shape of responsibility is still debated, but there is enough real smoke to make people suspect fire. This theory persists because communities saw the damage with their own eyes. When you see harm and you do not see accountability, conspiracy feels reasonable. The fair approach here is careful. Do not erase real history. Do not inflate it into a perfect master plan without proof. Stay with documents and verified timelines. Now, weather weapons. Humans can influence weather at the margins. Cloud seeding can increase precipitation in some conditions. We can also change climate over time through pollution and greenhouse gases. So the idea that humans can shape the sky is not pure fantasy. But the claim that a single facility can aim hurricanes like missiles is not supported. It persists because people feel helpless in the face of storms, and because governments do have secret programs. The digital currency tracking fear. A person sees how much data is collected. They see how financial systems can freeze accounts. They see how a phone can become a tracking device. So the fear is, one day, money itself will be programmable, and every purchase will be permission. This is not a crazy fear. It is a political concern. But the theory becomes extreme when it assumes one unified global plan with perfect control. In reality, different countries have different interests. Systems compete. Technology fails. People resist. So a better frame is that the risk is real in parts, not as a single worldwide switch. Now the internet is mostly bots. There is a real phenomenon here. Bots boost content. They spread propaganda. They inflate trends. Some networks are almost entirely automated. But the extreme claim that you are one of the only humans online is more like a modern loneliness story. It persists because online conversation can feel hollow. It also persists because the idea is a mirror of modern alienation. Now, fluoride. Fluoride fear often comes from a reasonable root. People do not like being exposed to a chemical without personal choice. They also remember times when authorities claimed something was safe and later it was not. So trust is fragile. However, the mind control claim requires a mechanism. It would need evidence that fluoride at typical levels changes cognition in a consistent, controlled way. The broader evidence supports dental benefits at proper levels and risks at high exposure. So the best conclusion is that fluoride debates belong in public health and ethics, not in secret mind control narratives. The hidden cure for cancer. This theory has emotional power. People lose family members. They see suffering. They see expensive treatments. So they imagine a simple cure locked away. But cancer is not one thing. It is a category of diseases involving uncontrolled cell growth. Different cancers behave differently. There are cures for some cancers and strong treatments for others. Progress is uneven. If a universal cure existed, rival nations and rival companies would race to use it. It would be hard to suppress. So the claim is unlikely. What is more likely is that health systems are imperfect. Incentives can be distorted, and access is unequal. Those are problems you can measure and fight. Microchips in products. The modern truth is simpler. Tracking does not need chips in your arm. It uses your phone. It uses your accounts. It uses cameras and location data. So the strongest version of the microchip fear is misplaced. The surveillance is already happening in open technology. That is why the theory persists. People sense something true and then add a dramatic mechanism. free energy devices. The dream of free energy appears in every era. It is often tied to the idea that the world is kept poor on purpose. Sometimes inventors build machines that look impressive, but fail under controlled testing. Sometimes they misunderstand measurement. Sometimes they are frauds. The reason the theory survives is that it attacks a real pain point: energy costs and dependence. But physics is not a cartel. If a device truly produced net energy without input, it would break conservation laws. The burden of proof is enormous. Now, black helicopters. This is a 20th century symbol of secret power. Even if you never saw one, you can picture it. It is the sound of rotors over trees. The idea of being watched from above. It persists because it is cinematic, and because helicopters were at times used in real law enforcement and military operations. Prophecy and apocalypse. Nostradamus is a classic case. His texts are vague, poetic, and open to interpretation. After an event happens, people reinterpret a line to fit it. This is called post-diction. The Mayan 2012 fear is similar. The calendar cycle ending was turned into a doomsday narrative by modern media. When the date passed, some people adapted by saying the world ended spiritually, or that we shifted timelines. This is what belief systems do when a prophecy fails. They evolve. Elite bunker networks. This is plausible in a limited sense. Governments plan continuity. The wealthy buy safety. There are documented bunkers. The extreme claim is that elites have an enormous hidden underground world. That would require huge construction and logistics. It might exist in pieces, but the grand unified network is not proven. Alien disclosure scheduled. This is another closure craving. People want the suspense to end. They want a moment where the truth is revealed. Sometimes governments do release reports about unidentified aerial phenomena. That does not equal aliens, and scheduled reveal dates are usually rumor. Now, the theory that reality can be changed by pure thought. This has a grounded core and an ungrounded extension. The grounded core is that mindset shapes behavior. If you believe you can improve, you may take actions that improve your life. That changes outcomes. The ungrounded extension is that thought directly changes physics. That is not supported. Still, the belief persists because it gives people hope, and hope can be valuable, as long as it does not replace reality. Now we end with the steady toolkit again, but in a way you can remember. When a theory shows up, ask 4 questions. What is the claim in one sentence? What would we expect to see if it were true? What would we expect to see if it were false? And what is the simplest explanation that fits the facts? If you do that, you can enjoy strange stories without being captured by them. You can keep wonder without losing your footing, and you can stay calm in a world that often rewards panic. We leave the archive here with the record complete. We add the final needed depth now by returning to several theories that deserve more careful treatment, because they sit at the border between odd rumor and real history. Start with the idea of secret bases and hidden projects. This category is powerful because it is partly true. Governments do build secret facilities. They do run classified programs. They do test aircraft, surveillance tools, and weapons. They hide budgets. They hide accidents. So when someone says there is a hidden base, the claim is not automatically absurd. The question is the specific content of the claim. Is it a secret aircraft program? Or is it alien bodies? The first is plausible and documented in many cases. The second is extraordinary and requires extraordinary evidence. Area 51 became a symbol because it was a real secret place tied to real strange lights in the sky. If you are a civilian in the desert and you see a strange object moving at night, and the government tells you nothing, the mind fills the gap. That is not stupidity. It is human. It is what we do with missing information. Now, a closely related claim is that there are underground cities. Sometimes the story says the government has a network of tunnels connecting key sites. In some places, there are tunnel networks. Cities have subways, service tunnels, storm drains, and utility corridors. Military facilities can have underground areas. So again, the grounded core exists. But the story becomes ungrounded when it expands into a complete secret parallel world that can hide millions of people. Scale matters. A huge underground city would need ventilation, water, power, food, waste removal, and constant maintenance. It would also require massive construction. Construction leaves evidence. This is why many giant underground claims collapse under logistics. Now consider conspiracy theories that start as critiques. When people talk about banks, corporations, and elites, there are real issues. There is lobbying. There is regulatory capture. There are revolving doors between government and industry. There are private meetings. So a person says, the world is run by a few people. That is not entirely wrong. The issue is whether it is one unified command or many competing interests. In most cases, it is many. This is why the single cabal theory is less likely than the network theory. Networks can be unfair and still be messy. Now, we return to a few internet-era theories that look silly, but teach an important lesson. Birds aren't real is satire, but it points to a real pattern. People are surrounded by technology they do not understand. They feel watched. They feel processed. Satire takes that feeling and pushes it into absurdity. Sometimes absurdity becomes a safe way to talk about fear. Now, the replacement celebrity theory is also a lesson. It shows that pattern hunting can become a game. If you look at photos before and after, you will always find differences. Angles change, weight changes, lighting changes. Then the mind builds a story. This is why strong evidence needs more than images. It needs documentation, consistent independent sources, and a motive that fits. Now, the doomsday date theory. A date gives fear a shape. It gives anxiety a calendar. It also creates community. People gather around the date. They share preparations. They share interpretation. When the date passes, the belief can either collapse or adapt. Many beliefs adapt. They say it happened spiritually. They say we shifted timelines. They say the date was misread. This adaptive behavior is another clue. A claim that always escapes falsification is less about evidence and more about identity. Now, we add a final set of short but meaningful reflections on why people love crazy theories. One reason is that theories are stories. They have villains. They have secrets. They have a hero who discovers the truth. Real life often feels like bureaucracy and noise, so a theory can feel like a clean narrative. Another reason is that theories can protect the ego. If the world is unfair because of a hidden plan, then your struggles are not random. If the system is rigged, then your failure is not personal. This can be comforting, but it can also trap you. It can make you focus on shadows instead of steps you can take. So the final lesson is balance. Enjoy the stories, study the evidence, keep your feet on the ground and keep your mind calm enough to tell the difference between mystery and manipulation. Now we close the file. We still owe attention to a set of theories that keep returning because they sit on real human limits. The limit of perception, the limit of memory, and the limit of trust. Start with pareidolia because it touches Mars ruins, faces in photos and hidden symbols. The human brain evolved to detect patterns fast. In the wild, missing a face can be dangerous. So the brain would rather create a false positive than miss a true signal. That means we see faces in clouds and structures in rocks. On Mars, a shadow can look like a doorway. On the moon, a ridge can look like a tower. A blurry image can become proof. The solution is not to shame the brain, it is to use tools. Look for the same feature from multiple angles. Look for scale. Look for repeated geometry. Ask independent experts. When you do that, most ruins claims fade. Now, memory. The Mandela effect feels supernatural because it involves confidence. People do not say, "I think it was spelled that way." They say, "I know it was." But confidence is not accuracy. Memory is reconstructed. Also, social sharing creates convergence. A person reads a post, laughs, and adopts the false memory. Soon, it feels like it always belonged to them. This explains why the effect spreads online. Now, trust. Many theories grow fastest when trust is low. If a person believes the media lies, then any official statement is treated as proof of a cover-up. If a person believes the government hides everything, then a lack of evidence becomes evidence. This is why restoring trust matters. But trust must be earned. Real transparency reduces the space where wild stories thrive. Now, we revisit the vaccine and health theories with this lens. When people feel that profit rules health, they become more willing to believe suppression stories. The way out is not simply to say, trust the science. The way out is to show the process, show data, show uncertainty, show how mistakes are corrected. That kind of honesty is the opposite of propaganda. Now we revisit the weather and climate theories. A person sees a storm and asks, "Why is this happening?" Sometimes the answer is climate change. Sometimes it is natural variability. Sometimes it is bad infrastructure. A secret weapon is not needed. But because the true causes can feel complex, people reach for a single switch. That is another pattern. The more complex the real cause, the more attractive the simple hidden cause. Now we return to the main purpose of this episode. 50 theories is a lot. The point is not to memorize them. The point is to learn how to hold any story at arm's length until it earns your belief. If you can do that, you can enjoy the strange side of the world without losing your footing. We end quietly now. One more piece belongs in the record because it is often misunderstood. A theory can be wrong and still point to a true feeling. For example, a person might believe in a single global cabal. That claim is usually unsupported, but the feeling underneath might be accurate, that power is concentrated and that decisions are made far away. If you only argue about the cabal, you miss the real issue. You miss the concentration of wealth. You miss the lack of transparency. You miss the sense of being managed. So the best response to crazy theories is not only debunking, it is also building better systems. When institutions are honest, people need fewer myths. When science is communicated clearly, people need fewer conspiracies. When governments admit mistakes, cover-up stories lose oxygen. This does not mean every theory will vanish. Humans will always tell strange stories. but it means the strangest ones will have less room to grow. Now, a final reminder. Stay curious, but do not let curiosity become a leash. A story that demands belief without proof is not knowledge. It is a performance. And the calm, slow method is your way out. Say the claim. Ask what evidence exists. Ask what evidence would change your mind. Then decide how much space the story deserves. And when the story deserves little, let it pass, like fog. Now we end. We also need to be honest about entertainment. Some creators push wild theories because the content performs well. Outrage and fear increase watch time. A mysterious thumbnail increases clicks. A confident voice can make weak evidence feel strong. This is not always evil. Sometimes it is just business. But the effect is the same. The audience is trained to prefer the most dramatic explanation. So if you want to keep your mind clear, you can do one simple thing. Notice how a story is packaged. If it is packaged like a product, treat it like a product. If it is packaged like a careful report, then evaluate it like a report. This is a small habit, but it protects you. Now, we return once more to wonder. The world is still full of unknowns. There are deep oceans. There are remote forests. There are unsolved crimes. There are unexplained experiences. You do not have to fill every gap with certainty. Sometimes the most honest sentence is, "We do not know." And that is not a failure. It is the beginning of real curiosity. A final note about the word crazy. We used it because it is the common label for these ideas. But many people who believe them are not crazy. They are scared. They are suspicious. They are searching. They have been lied to before. They have been ignored. And sometimes they have been right about smaller secrets. So when they hear a bigger claim, they are already primed. This is why a calm tone matters. If you attack people, they defend the belief harder. If you listen, you can separate the feeling from the claim. You can say, yes, power can be hidden. Yes, institutions fail. Yes, real conspiracies exist. And also say, this specific story does not have the evidence it claims. That combination is how you stay both humane and accurate. Now we close the record for the night. And if you want a single sentence summary of the whole episode, it is this. Strange stories are everywhere, but evidence is not. Your job is not to kill wonder. Your job is to keep wonder on a leash made of questions. When you do that, you can walk through the world of theories without getting pulled into the dark. You can listen, learn, smile, and then set the story down. And when a real mystery appears, you will be ready to treat it seriously, because your mind will not be exhausted by 100 false alarms. Now we end. One last practical trick. When you see a claim online, search for the strongest version of the counter-argument, not the weakest. If a theory is true, it should survive strong criticism. If it is false, strong criticism will reveal the cracks quickly. This habit saves time. It also keeps you from living inside an echo chamber. The world is noisy. The archive is quiet. So we choose quiet methods. We choose slow thinking, and we choose evidence over adrenaline. And if you notice yourself getting pulled into fear, step back and ask a simple question. Is this giving me useful information or just a feeling? Feelings are real, but they are not always guides. If the story only gives fear, it is not a map. It is a storm. Let it pass. So tonight, we keep the lights low. We keep the questions simple. We let the loud stories fade, and we keep only what can stand up in daylight. If you remember anything, remember the habit. Slow down. Ask what would prove it. And do not be ashamed to say, I do not know. The archive does not demand belief, it only demands care. So we set the file back on the shelf and let the night go quiet. This was a quiet archive story, where the story ends, sleep begins,